Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's say hello, everyone. And I'm getting Instagram set up right now, Brandon. So there you go. Good morning to the good people on day 111. Y'all, this is my number. All right, Brandon, you should be good there. Good morning, everyone. Say hello to us if you're out there ready for the barbecue with your plate and an empty one to take some food home. How about it? How you doing over there, B?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing
Got your
good. Doing
coffee?
good. Good morning.
Got your
Actually, I just
coffee?
got water today. Just got water today.
What?
Yep, just water because I got to do some physical work this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to get rehydrated. I didn't hydrate. Probably needed to last night after training. I was like, you know what? Some
Okay.
water. I'm probably get some tea later. Some coffee on my
Okay.
way out. Yep. But though, how's your morning?
My morning's good. My morning's good. I've been up. I got up early, about an hour earlier today. So I've been up for quite a while because I just got some things to do and I don't want to rush. One thing about this has gotten me to the point where I don't want to rush. I don't want to come here feeling rushed. I don't want to leave the house. Um, like I'm missing out on time. Like, I want to have enough time to get where I'm going. I want to drive the speed limit and just not get mad at the person in front of me because I'm running late, right? Who's going the speed limit and I'm running late. So I got up a bit early so that I can get my things taken care of and I feel calmer. I do. I feel like, okay, I'm gonna own this day, and if something happens, I'll let it do what it do, but I won't let it do me, right? Because I've did my part. I got up and
That's
got up
right.
early, got moving. So that's all you can do is all you can do. And then when you did that, you have no reason. It's just life happening for you after that. You with
That's
us,
right.
B?
That's right. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that
Seems like
worked
you're
out for you.
pausing a bit there a lot already. So I don't know. It's a lot of
Yeah.
pause on your end.
I don't know if it's. Saw that on yours too. Let me see if I can.
Maybe it's both of us. So we'll rock
Let's
on
see.
with
Let's
it.
see.
Good morning, Miss Brenda. Good morning, Mike. How are y'all doing this morning? Let's make today a great one, Mike says. And Miss Brenda says, good morning, everyone. So thank y'all for rocking with us. We're going to have a end of the year barbecue that's going to be so cool, y'all, because we're just going to be telling our testimonies about how life has, all things that have come our way, right? So, oh, Brother Mike says he has another client meeting this morning.
Hey,
All right.
good
All
job,
right.
Mike. That's
Woo-hoo,
good.
woo-hoo.
Good
Push
job,
it
Mark.
out.
Proud of you, man.
Mhm.
Well, welcome everybody to the In This Season podcast, the 111th day of us going through daily motivations for African American success by Dennis Kimbro. If you haven't gotten the book, go out there and get the book yesterday. You should have got it, but if you haven't, go ahead and get it today. There's no time like now to start your path in progress and success and feeding yourself something positive every single day, like a daily motivation or a daily affirmation. A little bit about this book, if you haven't been with us, if you have been, I'm sure you have this memorized, but rock with us a little bit for the new people. Daily Motivations for African American Success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead to the achievement of your true goals. And 365 short, powerful motivations, one for each day of the year. Dennis Kimbro, author of the popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no, and to look inward for answers to life's challenges. So each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans as Malcolm X, Marion Wright Elderman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, Mother Hale, Reverend Leon Sullivan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year. But what it teaches will last you a lifetime. That's the back of the book. That's a little bit more about what this book is about and why you should get it. Why you should get it. Dennis Kimbro said that if there's any power that can reverse the fortunes of race, it's character. And that can go for any race, whether you've been given privilege or whether you've been given demerits just based off of your skin. But outside of that, if you are a human being, there's something that you can learn from this book. So that's why we've invited you to the cookout. We ask that you bring others. Go to the YouTube. Make sure if y'all are on this today and you have not visited the YouTube page, please take a second right now to go to the YouTube page. Mom, if you, I don't know if you're able to send them a link, but go to the YouTube page, like it, subscribe, and turn the notifications on so that when we do something on this channel, who knows, it might surprise y'all and pop something up in the middle of the day. You will get a notification for it. So make sure y'all do that. So make sure you can, that way you can rock with us every time that we are in season. All right. So what you got for us,
And
Mom?
there's the link there. I just put the link out. Right, I'm
Oh,
ready to get right into it. I'm ready to
okay.
just let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's see. Today is May 21st. And the title for today is Awaken the Giant Within. Awaken the Giant Within. And our quote from a distinguished African American comes from Will Smith, actor and comedian Will Smith, who said, "Living in Hollywood can give you a false sense of reality. I try to stay in touch with my inner feelings. That's what's really going on." He said,
Hmm.
"Living in Hollywood can give you a false sense of reality. I try to stay in touch with my inner feelings. That's what's really going on." By Will Smith. The passage goes as follows. A number of years ago, a poor farmer discovered oil in his backyard. Though he was one though he was once poverty stricken, the discovery of oil made him quite wealthy. One of the first things he purchased with his newfound wealth was a new car, a Mercedes Benz. He wanted everyone in town to notice his car. So when driving through town, he turned to the left and right to speak to everyone in sight. As a matter of fact, he often turned completely around to speak to folks behind him. Yet he never had an accident while driving. Why not? The reason is simple. Directly in front of that shiny new car were two horses pulling it. The reason is simple. Directly in front of that shiny new car were two horses pulling it. The local mechanic said that there was nothing wrong with the car's engine. The old man had simply never learned how to insert the key and turn on the ignition.
Hmm.
Underneath the hood of that luxury car were hundreds of horses, highly engineered, highly engineered horsepower ready, willing and roaring to go. But the confused farmer was only using the horses on the outside. Closer to home, many people make the mistake of searching in their external world to find horsepower or the answers to their problems when they should look inside, within themselves. You will not find success or happiness in your external world. You will always find them within. How great we all could be, singer and songwriter Valerie Simpson told a group of children, if we would only search within and release our hidden power. Turn inward and find your true greatness. And the affirmation that we read 3 times, one time for you, one time for me, and one time for the person that you're going to share this content with, is I go forth in life with the realization that the kingdom lies within. I go forth in life with the realization that the kingdom lies within. And last time, I go forth in life with the realization that the kingdom lies within. And that's the passage. Think about that, butterfly, on your 111th day.
Well, I'm going to start right with the quote today. A living in Hollywood can give you a false sense of reality. I try to stay in touch with my inner feelings. That's what's really going on, right? So, and it's interesting that it comes from Will Smith. Um, in light of all the things that has happened in his life, personal life, in the last few years. So I'm going to ask some questions. What is Hollywood? Are you living in Hollywood? What's your Hollywood, right? And I think if truth be told, we will realize that it is our outer world. It's our false perception. And I think it says that here, right? Somewhere it talks about the false perception. Did I see that, Brandon?
I don't remember that.
Um, no.
No, I don't remember that.
For some, well, maybe I'm thinking that in my head. A false reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? False reality.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
That one.
it's that it's in there somewhere. Really is about our inability or our need to not be honest with ourselves about our external world, about our view of our external world, which causes us to not want to look internally, right? We feel safer if we just look outward. If it's your fault, right? If I can blame someone, if I can keep my eyes out here, I can avoid the giant that I feel is within me, right? That because there's that battle with us. I say that the battle is one with yourself, not with anyone else. And when you can calm the spirit, right? When you can calm the spirit and see the giant, then you no longer need to look outward. When you get in touch with your inner feelings, because Will Smith in this quote says, that's what's really going on is your inner feelings. But what's really going on also is that you are being dishonest with yourself about the inner feelings.
Mm.
You're not addressing them. You're not taking the time to look inward, right? So that you can find out what's going on. What's happening here? Why am I feeling this way? Why does my giant feel small? Even if it's today, why does your because y'all, truth be told, we all have those days where we're distracted by the external environment, people, right? And we don't take the time to reflect on not just who we are, but who we want to be. Not just where we are, but where do we want to go? And you have to have this giant. You have to have this giant or acknowledge of this giant if you're going to do that. If you're going to say, okay, where am I? Who am I? Where am I going? Who am I taking with me? And I'm not talking about people outside of you. I'm not talking about that. This reminds me something that I think I have already in here. We're fighting hardwired instincts to seek the meaning of life or a life outside of ourselves. Like we're hardwired almost to do that.
Is that
As
Joe
a
Dispenza?
child, I don't know. This stays in my. This is one that I've had in here for quite a while, so I don't know where this one came from. Because it's the banners we have them. I have them already. Some of them I just never take out. Because and that reminded me of that one. It was a show that we did, I think, on emotions.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was because the one just after that, unhealthy emotions, is about difficulty forgiving and forgetting. You say you are okay, but you know you're not. Insecurities prevail. You're not living your life. More reactions than responses.
Mm-hmm.
Word constipation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the show. I think we were talking about emotional intelligence and things like that. It
And
goes on to
emotional
say
constipation.
conflict. Hmm?
And emotional constipation we were talking about. I really.
Yeah, right. Well, this one was way, some time ago. This has probably
Okay.
been in here over a year ago. Even down to talking about your conflict intelligence, having the self awareness, the knowledge, and the skills to be attuned to ourselves and those with whom we are in conflict with, but want to maintain a relationship with them. And that you could turn that one inward. Maintain a relationship with yourself, a honest relationship with yourself. Stop being people of the lie because the greatest lies we tell are the ones that we tell to ourselves. I'm okay, right?
Right.
I'm good. I'm rocking. I'm doing my life. I'm doing my thing. All the while, your giant is crying, is screaming. just to be noticed, just to be noticed. So looking outward to me is avoiding what needs to be done internally, what needs to be seen internally. Um, it also, let's see, where is it? If we would only search within and release our hidden power, turn inward and find your true greatness. How, Brandon, what are some ways you think, how do you turn inward? What does that look like in your opinion? What does that look like for us to turn that energy and our thoughts inward?
It's somewhat a detachment, right? Because I think, and this is kind of a Buddhist philosophy, but that human suffering is largely due to attachments to
Hmm.
terrestrial things,
Hmm.
right? So we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, right? But when we get confused and think that we're physical beings that are just now having a spiritual experience, I think that's where we disconnect because we forget our true essence. And I think
Hmm.
that's why that detachment needs to happen in many cases. So Jesus in the wilderness. Speaking about Buddhism, the founder of it, Siddhartha Gautama, under the Bo tree, right? That's where his quote unquote enlightenment happened. Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the cave, right? So there's all these times of solitude and detachment from the world, giving them time to reflect. You turn inward by reflecting. You
Hmm.
turn inward by reflecting, and then and reflecting isn't always looking into your past. Sometimes reflecting is looking into your heart, looking into your mind, looking into your consciousness, and discovering and finding what really motivates, what really kind of does it for you, without the addition of the opinions of people outside of you. And it's very interesting, like a tree. People are, and I know you can appreciate this, right, Mom? But like, you appreciate trees, but trees are always growing in two directions at the same time, right? Trees are always growing in two directions at the same time. They're growing um, upward, as most people can see, but it cannot grow as much upward unless it also grows downward. And in the upwardness, it's more dry and sunny, and more downwardly, it's more damp and dark, right? So there's two realities. If you were to draw a line at the ground level of a tree, and you would look at the tree in its entirety, you would see that the roots are just as big and similarly shaped as the branches in the trees. So it's just and if that weren't so, then the tree would fall over. If it weren't so, the tree would be unstable, right? And I think we're like those trees, unless and in many cases, what we do is we prop ourselves up with the things that we gain in this world, and we're attached to those things because we're not grounded in our roots. We haven't reflected about about our soil, or what we're around, our environment. We haven't reflected about um, what nutrients and things that we need in order to really grow. Because all of the tree isn't what you see above the earth. At least half of that tree is below. And so I think, what does it take to turn inward is to remember that you have roots, and to remember that when you grow in one way where everyone sees, you're growing in another way that no one sees. And you're either growing toward your success or toward your calamity, And so you have to choose one. So every time you feel like you got it, like I say, when you get a new blessing, a new blessing is a new test, right? It comes with a test. right? Even when you get that new Mercedes, you got to put gas in it. You got to maintain it, right? So it comes with that test. Um, so that's kind of what I think. It's about detaching from the world and all of its influence, and really reflecting and contemplating your position first within within yourself and with the creator, and then what's that relationship that was prescribed to you for the rest of the world. Be not of the world, right? Even though you're in it. And I think that's what it looks like. You're on mute.
I didn't want you to hear me typing. So I just found this how to practice looking inward. Or how do you practice looking inward? The process of looking inward requires a deep and often uncomfortable level of honesty. I'm going to say that
Mm-hmm.
again. The process of looking inward requires a deep and often uncomfortable level of honesty. It mandates a pause, which is what you were saying. It mandates a pause from the constant noise and distractions of our external environment to reflect on who we are and who we want to be. So we both said that. This reflection is not a one time event, but a
Right.
continuous practice. I love this because it speaks about the continuous practice. It's not a one time event, it's not a one time thought, a one time feeling. This is something that we have to get up and do every day, sometimes several times throughout the day. And it will get better for sure, but then there's also those days in amidst of better that life hits you like a brick wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
But by then hopefully you have the means, and that you've reflected enough within, that you've reflected enough and know enough about yourself in order to know what you need to do. And it's different for everybody. It's different. Also, I think comparison, Brandon, how we compare our lives to what we see outwardly, right? To who we see, to
Right.
what we think people's lives look like. I remember thinking the other day, because I was in the company of a couple, and I kind of saw something different. Well, not kind of. I saw something different than what, and it could have just been that day. But we look at people in the moment, and we think they have perfect lives, right? But y'all, everyone goes through something. Single, married, divorced, about to be married, about to be whatever it is. Everybody is either going through something, coming out of something, or getting ready to grow through something, we'll say, right? And so you have to stop comparing your life to others as well, because that will take you someplace that it's almost, it's hell getting back. And Brandon, one of the pastors said when we were doing the class journaling through the scripture, and I've mentioned here before, is when you are reflecting upon something, or even in a disagreement, what are you comparing it to? What are you comparing? What is it in comparison to? Because for you to disagree with something, then you already have an idea in your mind of what it is,
Yeah.
right?
A
Of what
preconceived.
it is. Right. So what are you comparing your life to? That's why I asked, what's your Hollywood? Who's your Hollywood? Who's your Hollywood? Because for the man, the first thing that he purchased was a Mercedes Benz, something that he didn't even know how to crank up and drive, right? Because he's a farmer. He's probably this old school guy, farmer, you know, nothing to it kind of cars, simple cars, I would say, not all the flash and the fancy. So he goes to buy something that he does not know how to operate, and apparently didn't want to know because he didn't ask. Couldn't someone have shown him how to do this? Because imagine horses pulling a new Mercedes Benz.
Mm-hmm.
Because passing by, the people watching probably think, gosh, that's a new car. What's wrong with it? Why is he having it towed by horses?
Right.
Imagine, the thought process. But imagine his process, the need to buy the Mercedes, not know how to operate it. But I want y'all to see me so badly that I'm going to let these horses that I do know how to operate, because that's That's who I am. That's where I'm from. I'm on the farm. So I know how to hook these horses up that so they can pull this car so you can see me.
Mm.
Cognitive dissonance, Brandon. Imagine
Mm-hmm.
that. Imagine that.
And I think one thing that's very important to note here is that he came into a lot of money. Money changed him,
Hmm.
right? If you don't know who you are before you get money, it can change the way that you do things, right? And it's also a poverty mindset, right? Like if you haven't gotten out of that, um, because it's I think it's funny that it just specifically um, described him as a poor farmer who discovered oil in his backyard, and though he was once poverty stricken, the discovery of oil made him quite wealthy. And the first thing he did with his wealth was go get a Benz. Do you know that black people buy more Mercedes Benzes than any other people? So you know he's talking about us, right?
Oh yeah.
You know it was a black farmer,
Yeah.
right?
And he
So
wanted everyone in town to notice his car.
exactly.
His car. He says he wanted everyone in town to notice his car.
And he's a
Hmm.
farmer, so he didn't want everybody to notice his fruit.
Hmm.
Didn't want him to notice his fields, his corn, his what he's given to the community, but what he got.
And y'all, Brandon, how often have you made me think about a time where we were at an event and I had a friend who had just bought a new shiny red object convertible, and it was nice, but it was amazing. I noticed how people flocked to her just because she pulled up in that car. That was their focus, not who was coming to speak, not it was how they arrived there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Whoa, I mean, they were like,
The
man, this
fanfare.
car, yeah, like this car is dope. So you got to be the, ish, right? So imagine why the farmer would pick a car, because we have to realize that when people pull up in the convertible Mercedes, and they could have rented it, you don't even know, right? They could have just gone to the place and rented it for a weekend, not even their car. But you get this perception, this false reality of
Mm-hmm.
them based on what they pull up in. Versus we talked about it could be the owner of a trash
Right.
business that is just working a shift because someone's out, but you form an opinion of that person based on the trash truck, right? The garbage truck. So
Yeah.
see how we have to really be mindful, and really you have to go inward, because like Will Smith says, that's what's really going on, is what you're feeling inside. And if truth be told, if you just deal with that, you'd realize I don't have time to care about who's driving the truck that pulls up, who's driving the fancy car that pulls up. Because until I get to know who they are, and determine if they know who they are, they just a nobody, right? I'm serious.
Right.
Until you
Right.
get to know someone, doesn't
Right.
mean they're not valuable, but it's your responsibility to know how much value you should put in them.
Mm.
And if you haven't put it in yourself, if you haven't found the giant in yourself, you're never going to see it in someone else.
Right. Right. That's so
So,
true. I think another thing that I think pointed out is, or that I'm pointing out, is that the man had the key. He had the key to his own upliftment. He had the key to the ignition and just didn't know how to put it in and turn it.
mm,
Right. So how he didn't know how to look inward. I think it's interesting that you have to put a key in and you have to turn it. Right. So he didn't know how to turn inward, as the back of the book says, for answers to life's challenges. He needs to get from point A to point B. All he had to do was turn inward, put his key in the ignition, and he had access to hundreds of horsepower. But imagine what this man had to do to strap on 2 horses to a car,
Brand new Mercedes Benz.
just so everyone could see, as if he'd never seen a car drive before. So first off, do you need what you want? And do you know why you want what you want? Do you want it because you heard somebody else get it? Because people have deemed this to hold some type of status, that it gives you and grants you some type of status and influence over others, or at least and check this out. Do you know what the evil eye is?
I remember talking about that with you, but I don't remember what it was.
It's like a, you ever had, okay, so I liken it to an old thing that the old folks used to say. Like if you had something, you had some food in your hand, and somebody was looking at it, and it made you drop the food. You remember that?
Yeah.
I used to say that. I remember being a kid, but like, now how did that happen? I saw it happen a couple times. I'm like, looking at that food in somebody else's hand, and they dropped it. And so that's the evil eye. It's a form of jealousy. It's a form of it's a form of provoking envy inside of someone else that has a negative spiritual and physical outcome. Does that make sense?
It
So
does.
did you buy the Mercedes just to stunt on people? And if you did, you want everyone to see it. And if you did, and someone in their head has jealousy of it or whatever, and someone comes to steal it, or someone comes to rob you, or someone, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're looking to please the external world doesn't want to be pleased by you. Right? There's a hadith in Islam from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, meaning a saying of the Prophet, something that he said. And of course, we keep those separate from the Quran. So these are just his words, not the words that he said came from God. But he said that if you do something that pleases God, but it displeases people, God will not only be pleased with you, but in the end, ultimately, he will make them pleased with you. And if you do something that pleases people, but displeases God, that you think pleases people, but it actually displeases God, not only will God be displeased with you, but ultimately, he will make them displeased with you. And you see what some of the stars and the famous people are going through right now in these different times on these personal levels. The outside looks real nice, but that inside is really what corrupts it all and what changes not just the trajectory of their careers, but their reputation and the light of their stardom and their legacy, right? And I wonder, I don't know if that makes sense, but if you do something that pleases God but displeases people, not only will God be pleased with you, but ultimately they will be pleased with you. Even if they don't say it, even if it's just in their heart, but you did it because of a moral conviction, right? And if you do something, because people respect that innately, but if you do something, and we all feel it, we know when it's real and when it's not, that displeases God for the pleasure of people, then not only will God be displeased with you, but he will make it to where the people that you thought you were pleased will be displeased with you as well. So just think about that for a while. So I did think that was important, that he was poor first, came into the money, and didn't know what to do with it. Didn't vertically integrate his farm or get new equipment to make his farm more efficient. He bought something that immediately would be devalued, that immediately lowered in price as soon as he drove it off the lot. A Mercedes Benz. How many thousands of dollars less is a car worth the moment you drive it? That's the big trick of it all, isn't it? Like, you just got tricked to buying this real nice car, fancy car, And as soon as you drive it off the lot, you've lost on your investment. As soon as you drive it off the lot. And there's nothing wrong. Local mechanics said there's nothing wrong with the car's engine, right? But there was something wrong with him, with his knowledge, with his ability to maintain his even knowledge about what he owned. Sometimes people just buy things and don't even know how to use them. I was in California a couple years ago. No, 10 years ago when we were getting married. And I think I told you, Mom, we Stella's aunt has this garage where they keep like all these fancy cars where
Mhm.
she's working at. And one of the guys that keeps his cars there is a very, very wealthy man. I'm not even gonna say his name. Very, 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 very wealthy man. And he said, because they let us like get in the cars and do what we wanted in the cars. He had like 16 different cars, from a Maybach to a Rolls Royce to an Aston Martin that was in the James Bond movie. He owned it. He owned all these different cars. And you know what? He didn't even know how to drive a stick. And the majority of the cars look like the McLaren, the Lamborghini, all those the fast cars, right? Were stick shift cars. And he said he ain't never drove them. He ain't never drove them. I'm talking about cars in excess of 300, 400, 500, $600,000, and don't even know how to drive a stick. They're just sitting there. The McLaren had like 16 miles on it. I was like, "What you do? You drive from one side of San Diego to the next? Like, come on, man." And I'm not saying that he's whatever, but that stuck out to me. That I was like, "Wow, this is really stupid."
People buy what they feel the world, what they need for the world to value them. So because they know you're gonna, when you see them pull up and get out in that car, what
Mm,
your initial thoughts of them are, right?
right.
Vice versa. And Brandon, you've talked about like the CEO, the getting out of the Toyota Corolla or whatever, and you pulling up in your Lincoln. You remember that
Oh,
story?
talking about George Cates. I mean, it was, and
Yeah.
it wasn't a
It
bad car.
wasn't a,
It was an
yeah,
old 3 Series Beamer, an old one.
where he probably really could have afforded a new one.
Man, he could have afforded the Beamer dealership. He was a billionaire. Just as nice as he could be. Rest in peace, George. Man, that was a good guy. But um, I just remember feeling completely insecure.
And then he parked like back so he could
Yeah,
walk or something.
and I parked right in the front of the building with my shiny black car, broke as could be.
Oh, boy. Oh my goodness.
Broke as
Oh.
could be, and here he is, billionaire rich, wearing some Walmart clothes. Boy, I knew then. I was like, I got it all wrong. I got it all wrong. But I learned a lot from him. We actually exchanged books, and he gave me a lot to think about. I learned a lot from that man before his passing. So rest in peace to
Yeah,
George
yeah,
Cates.
yeah. Well, Brandon, that's all I have. I did put out, and I love what you said. Do you need what you want? Let me put it back out there. Do you need what you want, or do you know why you want what you want? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want it? And then also living outwardly, and I got this from this quote, living in Hollywood can give you, there's that saying, give you a false sense of reality. Living outwardly or in the world can give you a false sense of reality.
Hollywood.
So yeah, this one says living in Hollywood can give you a false sense of reality. Just like driving that Mercedes Benz can give you a false sense of reality.
Right,
And
right,
sometimes that's why we want it, so that people have or they are attracted to your false sense of reality. Why?
right.
Because that's their world as well.
Your illusion. It's like, do you
Right.
like my illusion? Let me see your illusion. And it's like we're
Right.
all delusional people competing with each other in how great and fantastical our delusion is.
Right.
Right?
Down to the clothes you wear, down to the name brand clothes you wear. I'm telling you, it makes me think about a friend I was with one day, and I've shared this story. the Baby clothing store. Man, she pulled out like 5, 6 cards trying to just pay for one shirt. Put what you can get what you can get off of this one, get what you can get off of this one. And I'm like,
What you can get, so she don't even know.
no, you're right, right. Yeah, because it'll tell you, yeah, that so that because you want the person to see you in all of this, right?
Mm.
So that gives them a perception of your life. When most times, like, there's this saying that I saw on Facebook, don't don't buy what you want and then come to me for what you need, right? You buy what
Mm.
you want, you go where you want, you do what you want. And then when it's time to pay that bill that you need, the lights on or whatever, right? You come to somebody else. You go to somebody else when you just went and bought you some $300 shoes and went and took a couple of vacations while people out there working every day, not doing what you're doing and saving their money because they know there's no value in to keep buying more shoes when you got some in there that has rotted because you've not worn them enough, right?
Yeah.
We got to, that's why it says you
Make it
got to
make
go
sense.
inward and be truthful with yourself that your shit stinks, right? That you don't go
Mm.
poop and it don't stink. Why? Because you're not clean inside. Now start eating right, right? And watch the smell of your poop lessons, right? If it smells different, right? I'm serious. So you all these little things, life life comes together. So there's nothing that you can't say, "Oh, wow." Think about that. The cleaner you eat, the less your poop, the less bad, I guess I should say, your poop smells. So the cleaner you live internally, the less your life stinks, whether you smell it or not. Because trust me, people who turn on the light and doing it, they see you just like you see them. They see you
Mm.
just like you see them. Because there are people that will look at people are disturbed by someone that walks in the room that knows who they are and is not walking in with the shiny objects. They're walking in with the light within, and trust me, people see it. So just like people see that, people who have that light see your shit too.
Mm.
And they smell it. And you ain't even on the toilet. It's coming out of your skin, coming out of your emotions, your attitude, the way you look. It's in your eyes, it's in the words that you speak. So there you go, Brandon. Let's
I,
close it
I,
out. It's
I'm gonna close
7:30.
it out. I'm gonna say something that I'm gonna leave on y'all on your minds. It's a little weird. It's a little Holly weird.
Hollywood.
Little Holly weird. Um, what are witches' brooms made out of?
What are witches' brooms made out of? Let's find out. You know the answer,
Well,
don't
you
you?
don't, you don't have to Google it. I'm just saying. I'm asking you. I'm asking you what you think a witch's broom is made out of.
I don't know.
Hollywood.
What is it made out of?
Hollywood. I'm
Okay.
serious. I'm serious. Be careful what you watch from Hollywood. Just be
Hmm.
careful. Sometimes the delusions and illusions that we project into our physical world come from realities that were shown to us that never existed. Come from images and sounds and things
Mm.
that we see in media that don't exist in real life. There are people that we're angry at right now that we've never met. We we don't know. What a curse. What witchcraft, right? That's why we call it broadcasting. Casting spells broadly. You see what I'm
It's like the
saying?
P Diddy thing, Brandon. Like so many people, and I felt so stupid and dumb. I thought it just happened, and Jim was like, "No, girl, that happened in two. I think he said
Six.
2016, or I had no idea that
Well,
had
well, no, no,
occurred.
no, nobody knew about the video. It had just been
No, not the
rumored.
video, just that he got caught up in something like that. That it even was a thing.
So Cassie had made a report that he had been abusive and had this like sex ring and things like that that were going on, and that you know basically he had abused her because I think the district attorney in New York opened up cases for civil suit where like there wasn't like a statute of limitations on it, or the statute of limitations had been extended for anyone that was coming forward about any type of like sexual assaults and things like that. They could do a civil suit. And so after those floodgates were open, a lot of people came forward about, powerful individuals, quote unquote, that had some nefarious activities that harmed them.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So
And y'all, truth be told, like,
we
do
don't
you
know.
do you think, I don't know, and I'm not gonna say much on this because I don't know a lot, but I'm just gonna say in regular life, do y'all think that is her name Cassie?
Yeah, yeah, she's a singer. Yep.
Do you and I don't know this because I don't know her or P Diddy, but do you think that she was not aware of the character of this man, right? Because you can hear one thing about a person, but if you continue to hear some of the same things about a character of a person, then what makes you think that you are so good that you're going to change it, right?
Yeah, I have to kind of disagree
I I I
from
I I,
from just
I
from
like to
just from
hear
the
it.
pers- just from
I
the
like to hear it.
perspective, because I don't know I don't know what did it. This was a young artist, right? And
Mhm.
and you gotta understand, P Diddy was for years he went on a 30-year run where he became a billionaire, worth of influence, had record labels and producers, and he had done a lot of things in the industry, so there he's looked at as someone of knowledge, someone of resource, someone who can help and do this. And it's not that Cassie, I don't think she knew upon meeting him that there were these rumors, right? And I think it's easy, especially for young girls, to be sucked into
Money.
and not just that,
I think
but to
money.
be not just that, but like there's a influence that power that it brings. And if you're a young artist, right, and she was a young artist coming in and signing a deal, you're contracted with an individual, and so they started, and then you start muddying the waters when you date that individual. So I don't think it's
Let me ask you this: do you think do you think Cassie would have dated P Diddy just as he is if he owned the garbage?
wait, I'll say that I
That's what I
think
mean by
I
that.
think it's I think it's assumptive, and I think it's bad for our own spirit to even ponder that and conjecture. Would she have liked him if this? Because we don't know that. All we know is
Right.
that
I
a
don't
man beat a
know.
woman.
But I'm saying what I know for sure I don't, but it's no different than what I just was explaining about if the guy pulls up and he's the owner of the garbage truck, but you don't
Right.
know this, so that so you don't want to talk to him because you think he's just another guy with a job being a trash collector.
And I
And
agree,
so right. And so in this
but I don't.
Hollywood, as our quote says here, Hollywood can give you a false sense of reality,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it becomes this tug of war with fame and status and money. And if that same guy, I would say, I don't know it, but my opinion is 90% of, not probably more, would not date some of the men that they date now if they weren't as if they didn't have as much money as and status as they think they do.
right.
So
And we
they
have to
overlook some things. Money will make people overlook some things, some
absolutely
characteristic things that they wouldn't if the person did not have money. They would,
right.
excuse my French, but they would shit on you. She would probably shit on her if P Diddy was a normal guy, and her. If he was just, when I by normal, meaning not up there in Hollywood, got a 9 to 5, living a peaceful, pleasant life. That world is corrupt.
I think
It's
so too.
corrupt.
But
Not
I think
everybody in it, but that world is.
I think so too, but I also think that it's harmful and it's a disservice to assume that either of them would do that without the evidence. We can say in general that people do that or that we've seen that as an example, but I think specifically in this situation, I think it's I don't think it's right to say that she probably would have did this or he probably would have did that, because like I said, we don't know these people. So I'm very careful about being like, oh, they probably would have did this, or they probably, because that's not something I know. I'm having to make an assumption that upon somebody else's character that I do not know. But from what the
It's an
evidence,
opinion for me, not an
right,
assumption based on what I see, based on what I have internalized and understand of
right,
Hollywood will give you. Just like money, getting money. You could have the best intentions and be the best person, but if you don't, again, if you're not valid or solid in who you are, it
mm-hmm.
will change you.
Because
It will change you.
I've
And so
seen
there are
women.
people who get to that world, that
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood world, and they become a totally different person.
I
Why?
agree. I agree. I
Because
just don't know if
they've
that
never,
person was Cassie. Is what I'm saying. It's like
right.
I
And
don't know that.
I'm not saying, but I will say again, I in my opinion, it weighs heavily on the other side of P. Diddy. If P. Diddy wasn't P. Diddy in that sense, I'll say this: many women will pass by him. But instead, what is he?
Mm-hmm.
He's had a microwave world of women. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's P. Diddy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't see him as shitty diddy, right? And he may not be shitty diddy because I don't know him. But what I'm saying is, if I run up on a guy, whether he has $1 million or $1, if I see that you've been floating the boat, you've had 100. I see this. You've had women
Right.
in your life and men in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, hundreds. Then
Right.
I'm gonna be like, okay, tell me what makes you different now? Because I don't. It's not that I think I'm so different that I can change you. Have you changed you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's there to change? Tell me about the relationship that you've had, because it seems you've had, what from what I can tell, some decent women, some decent men. So I'm saying Hollywood, you see them in and out, in and out, in and
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
in and out. So the false, I'm relating it to this false perception that he says Hollywood can give you.
Right.
And truth be told, I feel like Will got caught up in that false reality as well. I feel like I don't know it because I don't know
But you
him.
know what though? People do that who broke. It's women who get abused who ain't got a dime, who the man ain't got a dime to his name, and they still run back. It's a psychological thing. It's more than I think. It's more than I think. It's more than money, and I think there's more dynamics at play other than that. And I do think in the dating world, women, they're the thing that they're promoting in many cases, or what's the most attractive to men, is purity. For most men, for most internet, is purity, and for most women, the most attractive things in an instant, like purity and beauty, right? That's
Mhm.
their first. That's what kind of is the first thing for men, and for women, it's status. Status. You can
And
see
see
the
what kind of
ugliest,
status? What
right?
status? Because what
I
kind of
mean, what
status?
what
Because I would disagree with
it's
that.
based on their value system, just like beauty is based on his idea of
Hmm.
what beauty is. So,
Hmm.
but we just know that, like psychologically, the drivers for those things for men is purity, beauty, and like ability to procreate. Like a man would rather have. They did a study, said, would a man rather a woman that had $1 million with business or whatever, and they were asking high status, quote unquote, high value men, as they say. Would you want a
Hmm.
woman that knew that was a great housekeeper, and was and wanted to be a stay at home mom, but was a good house, knew how to cook, did clean, all these other things, right? And or would you want a wife that had $1 million business? And the high value men all said that they would rather have the homemaker,
Hmm.
right? So we're looking at things from different perspectives, but I don't think that those natural things of, oh, does he have status, oh, can he provide, that's a natural thing for a woman to do, but they have to be guided in those. I think there's misguidances that people have based on delusions, based on false realities, that pervert those natural instincts for a woman seeking provision, for a woman seeking safety, for a woman seeking a man of status, because for those reasons. And I think that's something that maybe we should get into on the
I was
on
gonna
the
say, I was just
relationships.
gonna say, because I want to talk about that status part. because, and again, y'all, good point here, because when he had status, oh, my hair stood up. Why? Because we mentioned earlier, what are you comparing these things to? So I'm comparing it to my very own opinion of status don't mean nothing to me. And I double negative there. Your status, meaning like where you are, because I think two people who put two pennies together, if I have a penny and you have a penny, we know how to stretch that penny. We know how to make that penny work. We can become billionaires together. And I
Yeah.
would rather a man with character, a broke man with character and integrity, than a rich man with status and a following, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any day, I would rub my two pennies together in a tent on the coldest night with a man who has integrity, character, because with him, man, there is no limit.
Right.
But
And
with the
that's because you
one,
have.
right. So when you said that, when you said the status, and so I'm saying that to say, my hair stood up. Why? Because I have something that I'm comparing it to, which we brought up that a little bit earlier. But we'll talk about that on a different show. Brandon and Louis and myself, we're going to be coming back doing a show on relationship, right? Relationships soon.
Y'all
So
see how we just teased y'all a little bit with a little debate about what we think from the men's side and the woman's side. Y'all can come get a whole lot more of that, because
right.
that's
And
what y'all
so
really want.
that's right. That's what you really want.
That's what they really
Yeah,
want.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna give it to you. We're gonna give it. You might not like it, but you're gonna get it. All
What
right,
what
Brandon,
what,
let's
what
close
did he
this
say?
thing
Like
out.
that, like that, like that. Take that,
Yeah.
take
And y'all,
that.
I think let me say this. I think Diddy is he's an incredible, talented human being. But you can be an incredible, talented human being and not be tuned in, turned on, and tapped into your inner giant, right? If you don't know that you know that you know that inner giant comes from God and your purpose, you can be as talented as he is and many others who are talented in what they do in this Hollywood industry, but they've lost sight, in my opinion, of the true giant inside and why they need to do what God has planted in them. Because I feel like God can use their purpose, that there is that purpose, their talent, right? And they can
Hmm.
use that in such a way, man. So
Right.
we'll talk about that another time.
We'll talk about that later, y'all. I gotta get out of here because I actually got some work to do. So let's get on up out of here with this 111th day of the End of Season podcast. The title was "Awaken the Giant Within," a reference to the horsepower inside of that, both the horsepower that was inside of the Mercedes and um, the person inside of this farmer. And the title was "Awaken the Giant Within," and the quote came from Will Smith, who said, "Living in Hollywood can give you a false sense of reality. I try to stay in touch with my inner feelings. That's what's really going on." And the affirmation that we read 3 times, one for me, one for you, and one for the person that you're going to send this to, is "I go forth in life with the realization that the kingdom lies within." I go forth in life with the realization that the kingdom lies within. And last time, our daily affirmation for today is "I go forth in life with the realization that the kingdom lies within." Thank y'all so much for rocking with us. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place on the End of Season podcast. We'll see you then. Good morning.
Peace.